now, from Mountain Bike Central in Marin County, California, here's Greg Lewis.
Hi, welcome to the inaugural Mountain Bike World Cup. You know, it was about 15 years ago that the sport was born here in Northern California, and today it has grown to global dimensions. Now, mountain biking has its inaugural World Cup with 9 events in 6 countries, which will crown the top men's and women's competitors in the sport. And the competition has been fierce. With 4 events already run in Europe and Canada, the Americans have been strongly challenged by the Europeans. Let's take you out now to Traverse City, Michigan, the first American event on the World Cup circuit, where Tim Blumenthal, mountain bike editor of Bicycling Magazine, is standing by. Tim, what kind of a race can we expect here today?
Well, Greg, I think the key word is dry. It's going to be very dusty, it's going to be very sandy, and it's going to be very, very hot. There are hills here, maybe 500 feet of climbing per lap, not mountains, but it's going to be almost like a desert.
Well, Tim, let's talk about the Americans briefly, because, of course, a few years ago, this sport was completely American, and now there's virtual parity between both Americans and the Europeans. Ned Overend, I'm surprised, should have been a favorite, is currently ranked in 10th place in the Mountain Bike World Cup. What chance do the Americans have to come back on their home turf?
Well, this is only the 5th in a long season of World Cup races, so the Americans have a lot of time. And from here, the circuit moves out west to some very hilly, Rocky Mountain, alpine-type courses that will favor the Americans. This, I would call it a neutral course, a course that could favor the Europeans, could favor the Americans.
All right, well, thank you, Tim. Let's take a look at the course now in Traverse City. It's 5.8 miles long, and although it isn't especially mountainous, the sand and roller coaster hills will make this a very demanding long race. Traverse City has also been battling with an epic heat wave. Just take a look at these numbers: 97 degrees, 83% relative humidity, making Traverse City the hot spot in the state on this day. Okay, we'll be back with the start of the women's event right after this. Stay with us. Julie Furtado, the reigning world champion of the USA, gets set for the start. She's got 2 victories already this season. Her primary rival from West Germany, it's Regina Stiefel, and she wears the blue leader's jersey. But Stiefel quite nervous about this course, as Ned Overend explains.
This course is just like a roller coaster, and the key to going fast is going to be to maintain your momentum up and down the hills, pedaling over the tops of the hills, not using your brakes unless you absolutely have to, and then being in the right gear as you're heading up the next hill. These races in the east with all the heat and humidity, a lot of people think they're easier than the high altitude races, but I think it ends up taking more overall energy, even though the climbs aren't as long. A real important factor in the cross country is going to be trying to prevent dehydration. This race, you're going to be going so fast over all this terrain that a lot of people will forget to drink enough. You need to put away about a bottle every lap or every 25 minutes. And if you forget to do that, it'll be too late to make it up later in the race. This isn't a particularly technical course, but the most technical aspect of it is the sand, which takes a different riding style. You have to float your front wheel over the sand. You got to stay light on the front wheel.
So heat and sand will be the hallmark of Traverse City in this World Cup inaugural year. 9 events in 6 countries, and this, the 5th stop on the circuit in Traverse City, Michigan, and it's going to be a tough one.
Greg, this is a watershed moment for international mountain bike competition. This is the inaugural World Cup and the first U.S. stop.
Sleeping Bear women's cross-country race underway. It's a long one, 5 laps, 5.8 miles, 29 miles total. What's the strategy at the start?
Greg, you want to get a fast start. You don't want to get caught in the dust. All the leaders are seated in the front row, and they're off quickly.
It's a race course that's made Regina Stiefel nervous.
In the beginning, I had a lot of trouble with the sand, because in Europe there is not so much sand. But I've trained 2 or 3 times a day, and I'm improving. But the real problem will be the heat.
Well, regardless of any self-doubt, Regina Stiefel has started very well.
Good job.
She's doing well through the sand section with Julie Furtado just behind.
Furtado looking for her 3rd win of the season. Stiefel, though she leads the Tour standings, has only won once, and she's bogging down a little bit and has to put a foot down. Julie Furtado looks stronger through the sand. And here come the others behind. Susan DiMattei, known as a great climber, has opted to get off and push, and this is only the first of 5 laps.
Greg, this says something about the conditions. That sand is very soft, it's hot, and this is very difficult.
Stiefel has faltered. Furtado takes over the lead, and she is an athlete with many talents, a former great ski racer, and also a road racer.
She's a former national road champion, Greg, but she's also had 7 knee operations, so it's been a difficult athletic career.
Well, there's Stiefel trying to catch up with Furtado. Furtado got into cycling as rehabilitation for the knee operations. In third, Sarah Ballantyne, and she doesn't look like she's moving as well as she'd like through the difficult single track.
Well, that's Julie Furtado near the end of the first lap. It looks like her chain has fallen off. You're obligated to do all your own mechanical work in mountain bike racing. You can't receive outside assistance. Furtado seems to have gotten through that problem okay, and now she's looking for water.
Ned Overend spoke about the importance of water being drenched, and this is Regina Stiefel.
She doesn't seem to be quite as desperate for water. This is a German woman racing for the first time in the United States. It's very important for her to add to her points that she scored earlier in the season.
Comes from an athletic family. Her sister, a ski racer. They're out of Garmisch-Partenkirchen. The legs working and pumping on Julie Furtado, and she's looking for water.
She wants water!
Well, Furtado not getting the water because that is not a feeding zone. And here is Regina Stiefel. More trouble climbing in the sand. She is off and pushing.
Furtado, she's in the lead here. She missed the 3rd race of the series because her life is more than bikes. It's books.
I had to come back and take finals at CU and get my degree. Took precedence.
Sarah Ballantyne. Taking precedence with her is pain and suffering. Look at the face on this 30-year-old veteran. She is known as a powerful dynamo, but the power is faltering.
Well, Sarah Ballantyne, for 3 years, from '88 on, was the dominant racer in the sport. Then Furtado came along, won the World Championship last year, pushing Sarah Ballantyne out.
Now Ballantyne has pushed Stiefel out of 2nd place. So Stiefel in 3rd, Ballantyne 2nd. Here's the lady out in front. It's Julie Furtado. She's going to pick up her 3rd win of this inaugural World Cup season and do it by 9 minutes. Furtado, number 1 in Traverse City. Exhausted and elated at the same time. In 2nd and spent, it's Sarah Ballantyne. In 1st and refreshed, it's Julie Furtado with Tim Blumenthal.
I know I don't do well in the heat, so like I said, I didn't want to get too hot where I just collapse. Just try to keep it steady. And once my legs start hurting, I knew I was okay, because then I knew I was using my legs instead of just overheating.
A wonderful line from Furtado. Pain brings victory. A big one. Her 3rd one of the season. And it'll push her up in the standings to where she wants to be. The USA 1st and 2nd. Stiefel drops to 3rd in this race and out of the overall leader's position in the World Cup.
And so Furtado, an American with victory in this first American stop in the World Cup, moves into the overall lead. Stiefel falls to 2nd. Ballantyne is 3rd.
The men's event about to begin. The world champion, Ned Overend, a look of concern on his face, and he's only in 11th place in the standings now.
That's Tomasz Frischknecht of Switzerland, the runner-up in the World Championships last year. He's been in the Army, though.
This is Rishi Grewal of Colorado, always a threat. Looks confident.
Overend's teammate Darryl Price won at Mount St. Anne in Quebec last week.
A deep field, 80 competitors, and there is the World Cup leader now, Gerhard Zadrobalek of Austria. He also looks relaxed.
This is Henrik Derniz of Denmark, 3rd overall in the World Cup Series.
In this event, even the leaders will get dusted. The course is parched, the face mask to protect their lungs. And here are the standings after 4 events. Coming into this American opener, Zdrobilek out in front. Michael Closer of the USA in second. Only 2 Americans in the top 5.
The strategy here at the start is quick. You must get off fast. You hear the creaking of derailleurs. We saw Rishi Grewal near the front of the pack, pounding on out into the dust.
With more than 80 competitors in the field, the dust is kicked up like a stampede of horses. Being out in front, getting that clean air as we see Rishi Grewal here coming into the cherry orchard is critical. Plus, there's single track on this course, and it'll be very demanding, very difficult to pass.
This is Rishi Grewal's typical strategy. He likes to go out fast, risk it all, and either win or nearly die trying.
Here's the sand section that was so difficult for many of the women. It's Henrik Dernice out in front. Grewal, oh, a great bike handler, struggling there.
That's Philippe Parakis of Switzerland, and the riders are already struggling. There's Gerhard Zdrobilek nearly getting knocked over by Mike Closer. The racers are still very closely bunched here. It's just the first lap. It's almost like a road race, but still there's the speed, and there's the dust, and there's the bumpiness of mountain bike racing.
It's Grewal and Dernice switching the lead back and forth. Grewal out in front now, Dernice right behind. Another tricky turn.
In a course of tricky turns, the conditions this year are very different than what they've been in the past in Michigan. It's very dry, it's very dusty, and typically this has been a muddy course, but not this year. And already the racers are feeling it.
A sport not just of endurance and power, but also enormous skill. This is Tinker Juarez now, and he is setting the pace.
Tinker Juarez is from the east side of Los Angeles, and he rides and trains by himself all the time. He's really an anomaly. That's David Wiens. He's moved up into 3rd place, and you can see he's followed by Rishi Grewal and then the overall series leader, Gerhard Zdrobilek.
And where's the reigning world champion? There he is, the number 1. Only half the story for Ned Overend right now. He is actually in 11th place as he finishes up this first of 6 laps.
This is the lead group again. Now it's David Wiens leading. And there's Gerhard Zdrobilek in second. You know, Greg, it's important just to stay in contact. With more than 2 hours remaining, it's not so important to be in the lead. Rishi Grewal knows that. He's just a few hundred yards behind, and for the moment, that's fine.
Ned Overend, 1:33 back, and the face tells the story. He doesn't have it today.
Overend is a notoriously slow starter, not only in each race, but also in the season. And in a season-long competition like the World Cup, it just won't work. You can't wait until July or August to start scoring points.
David Wiens holds on to the lead, a former whitewater kayaker finding nothing but dust here. The water hasn't been in this climate for quite a while. The course is parched from the sun. Getting ready to begin lap 4. The pink line shows their relative positions. Wiens out in front, Grewal and Dernice the trailing pink edge. Then it's Tinker Juarez in 4th, still further behind. Wiens, a relative newcomer to the sport, is setting the pace. Those who follow just trying to hold on to contact with Wiens and not become dehydrated. More action when we return. Greg Lewis along with Tim Blumenthal, Traverse City, Michigan, the Mountain Bike World Cup. Dernice has taken over the lead in the 4th lap.
Dernice is a cyclocross specialist, a medalist in the World Championships. He's a European, and he's doing well here in America. A bit of a surprise.
A Dane in the hills. This is Rishi Grewal, second, only 13 seconds behind with 2 laps remaining in good position.
What Grewal shows is great technique. He's on top of his pedals. He's very good through the soft sand. And now just behind, that's Tinker Juarez, the American. He can't get through sections that Grewal can ride. And behind him, it's Gerhard Zdrobilek. They're both walking. And that's a big difference because it means you have to get on and off, get your rhythm back, get back into your pedals.
Dernice getting set to start lap 5. Gets splashed down here. The heat continuing to drain the athletes. We can see the pace has slowed enormously each time they come through this start-finish section. Rishi Grewal looking perhaps a little bit fresher, 19 seconds back.
None of these guys look good. It really says a lot about how difficult this course has been. Tinker Juarez, he's in third place, getting more water. Gerhard Zdrobalek, the overall leader. Right now, I think he's just looking to finish in the points, and that means 4th, 5th, or 6th place.
If he can stay in 6th place, he'll hold on to his World Cup lead. Zdrobalek, another relative newcomer to the sport.
He was a road racer, a top road racer in Europe on the PDM team and once on 7-Eleven. He's turned to mountain bike racing with great success.
Ned Overen, still in 11th position, cannot close. Nothing like a year ago when he had his finest moment, winning the World Mountain Bike Championship in his hometown of Durango.
That was a fairy tale, and Overend's success comes from, in part, the time he spends working on his bike. And he remembers what the sport was like long ago.
This is a classic example of how mountain bikes started out, or what they were developed from. The 30-year-old one-speed paperboy bike with fat tires. And what they've developed into, and about the only thing that's even similar on these, is the fatness of the tires and the upright position.
Technical proficiency, a key to the success of Ned Overen, as well as true grit. And true grit from Rishi Grewal, who has taken over the lead from Dernice. And Grewal with a sudden burst of energy. How will he handle the sand? This will tell us how strong he really is.
Grewal showing a lot more energy now than he did when he was in 2nd place. He pounded up a perfect line up that soft sand. Here comes Dernice, the same section, and you can see how the technique is different and how he struggles. Forced out of the saddle, onto his feet, he's losing time.
He's about to lap another rider who has really had trouble in this section. Tinker Juarez, he's in command of 3rd now.
Juarez is well known on the U.S. circuit, but has yet to score a World Cup point. This is his big opportunity, and he's showing pretty good smarts. He knows what his limitations are.
And the World Cup leader in 4th. Remember, he's got to stay in the top 6, Zdrobalek, to maintain that leadership position.
Rishi Grewal still in the lead, but boy, he's not looking that good. Grewal is the younger brother of the 1984 Olympic road champion, Alexei Grewal. But unlike Alexei, he's soft-spoken. He's not flamboyant. He's equally talented on the road and in mountain biking. This year, he's chosen to concentrate on off-road events, and as you can see, he's doing very well.
Grewal has another brother, younger, Ranjit, who is also a bicycle racer. His father owns a cycling shop in Aspen, Colorado. It's a family business.
Only 5.8 miles to go. Grewal does not really look like someone who's going to explode to a bigger lead.
But Dernice in 2nd now looks like he may just simply explode. The face, a man of agony. He has got dust and Coca-Cola caked on his lips. There is no more energy in his legs. It's a chance for Tinker Juarez to close and perhaps move into 2nd. Juarez in the sand showing his own fatigue.
It's that same technical section that Grewal rode through. Juarez, he's forced off his bike, as is, here comes Jan Wiak. He's a Polish emigre. He lives in the United States now. He's a cyclocrosser. In cyclocross, you often run next to your bike.
Rishi Grewal. Can you believe this is a man who is leading a bicycle race? He looks like someone who is tired after a Sunday ride and is just kind of cruising on home. And in fact, Grewal is just holding on, hoping he can stay away from those who are chasing him down. The march is on. It is Juarez and Wiak.
Wiak and Dernice, 2nd and 3rd place. Zdrobalek still back in 6th. He still looks like he's in the fight. Maybe no way to improve his position, but still a chance to score points.
But he has a new challenger in the overall standings, because Rishi Grewal is going to come in as the victor in this event. Traverse City will be his first World Cup mountain bike win, and Grewal is now in contention for season-long glory. The rest of this race unfolds when we return. Rishi Grewal celebrates his first ever World Cup victory, but the battle is on for 2nd place, and Dernice will beat Wiak with a sprint. Grewal used a different tactic to win.
Tactically, I went a little too soon. I went with about 2 1/4 laps to go, and that was a little too soon. I wanted to go with about 1 3/4. There was one guy, Henrik Denyeris. He was with me, and I tested him out, and I got a gap, and I just kept going. And they have to push just as hard as I do, you know, so I just I prayed out there, and I made it.
The first World Cup mountain bike race in America, and an American wins his first World Cup mountain bike race, but just barely.
In the overall standings, Zadrobalek still leading. Graywall moves up from 5th to 2nd, 3 Europeans in the top 5.
Well, Tim, I must say I'm really impressed with the outcome of this event, because before the race here in Traverse City, many of the experts were telling us that this would perhaps not be a very difficult course. No technical downhill, no very demanding uphill, and yet the outcome of the race certainly seemed to prove them wrong, don't you think?
Well, it did, and it was the heat and it was the sand that did it. We talked to some racers afterward, and they drank 10 or 11 full bottles of water. And we also looked at their faces. What exhaustion, what fatigue. It really was a difficult race.
Well, now, of course, Tim, this is a really big step in Rishi Graywall's career. He's won what is perhaps the most difficult race of the season so far in the World Cup, and he's always been one of those competitors who's on the top, but he's never really won the big one, as he has today. What does this say about Rishi's career?
It says a lot about his career. Rishi has always been an excellent climber, and he's always been very aggressive. But what he showed today was great timing. He waited to the 4th lap to make his move. He made it decisively. No one could respond, and he didn't crack under the pressure on the last lap. I think he's come a long way, and I think this is a mature champion bike rider who has a lot of potential, maybe even to win the whole World Cup circuit.
Well, thanks, Tim.